Chapter 85 Report Once upon a time, Ryan and Jasmine had sat around the workshop and planned to make an armor capable of destroying Dynamis HQ. That promise was now fulfilled. You have two hidden switchblades below the arms and laser turrets in the gauntlets, Vulcan explained, as she helped Ryan put the power armor on. Darkling slithered in the background, waiting for the experiment to begin. Since you intend to force your way inside the HQ, I added a nuclear-powered chest blaster. The Chernobyl? Ryan asked with enthusiasm, as his genius sidekick reinforced the armor's joints with a screwdriver. Yep. If the blast doesn't kill them, cancer will, Vulcan replied with a grin, as she grabbed the armor's helmet. What? He had heard it all before. I want rocket launchers too. No, she said immediately. Oh, come on. You sound like a child, and there isn't enough space to fit more weapons. Also, the blast might throw you backwards if you aren't anchored on the ground. I'll keep that in mind, Ryan replied, already imagining ways of abusing the feature. Vulcan. Yes, that's my name. Why the rabbit ears? Ryan asked, pointed an armored finger at the helmet. Using a design improved across multiple loops, Vulcan's power armor was a technological marvel. An exoskeleton of lightweight, flexible alloy, it espoused Ryan's form like a second skin. Its bright purple color made it impossible to ignore, just as the courier liked it. Its servos enhanced the wearer's strength, yet the armor remained light enough not to impair his mobility. A reinforced backpack contained a miniature version of the chronoradio, artificial brain included, which should allow the courier to transfer a mind across time. Unfortunately, even while working with all Chimo, Shorty hadn't found a way to bring more than one person yet. However, the armor's strangest part was undoubtedly the helmet. Two long antennae rose from it, which combined with the orange lenses, made the helmet look like a robotic rabbit's head. Ryan knew he had something of a hair theme going on, but this was too much. Too much. The antennae streamline your connection to the dimension which your power draws violet flux from, Vulcan said with a shrug, as she put the helmet on Ryan's head. The armor's artificial brain will gather data to help you better understand your power. Ryan glanced at the room around them, the bunker's miniature particle collider. A chilling frost filled this conical chamber, the walls covered in web-like, biomechanical strands. Silver fluid flowed through them, and they hummed like a living entity's veins. Only a single blast door allowed someone to enter this facility. Mechan's technology had transcended flesh and metal to become something greater than both. This was the place where the bunker's AI summoned Darkling once. Perhaps the alchemist had one such room in Antarctica, and used it to bring the elixirs to the realm of men. Ryan really needed to dedicate a loop to locate and check up on that snowy base. He had the feeling he would find many answers there. Data appeared on the helmet's lens after the courier put it on, the scene reminding him of that fateful loop where he accessed the purple world. However, his current armor was a cut above the prototype. It included technology from various geniuses, and components impossible to reproduce without Mechan's matter replicator. Ryan would have to conquer the bunker again to make a new suit. Something easier to say than do. Now we have to find a name for it, the courier said. Ryan was sorely tempted to rename himself Plushy Master, but that might infuriate their long-eared overlords. The Rabinator? That name sucks. White Rabbit. It's not white, and you're terrible at names, Vulcan said, putting her hands on her waist as she found a name of her own. How about the Saturn Armor? I thought the Augusti had exclusivity over Roman gods' names. I am an Olympian, you moron, and I say Saturn. Maybe you could even kick Augustus S with it. Wouldn't that be great? You know Jupiter defeated Saturn, right? Then again, Ryan was all about repeating lost battles until he won them. How about Kronos instead? This armor is my baby, so I name it. I name it Saturn. She gave him a tap on the back of his head. So, you'll try the particle accelerator, and afterward it's rating time. Yeah. Livia had returned to her father, partly to make sure he wouldn't get involved, and mostly so she would record the brain maps in a safe place. Ryan couldn't afford to put her on the front lines, since he needed her alive to transfer her mind across time. Len took care of the children, using bathyspheres to send them away before things turned very messy. Alcimo had made a copy of his daughter's mind, though he didn't tell her why, and currently struggled to do the same with Saren. The genius theorized her memories were encoded in her molecular structure rather than neurons, and so made a record of it. Ryan needed to figure out a specialized solution for Saren's unique biology. "You want to come?" Ryan asked Vulcan, almost eager. "You bet I will," she said with a grin. "Even if the bitch left them, I've got a bone to pick with the Carapos. It is time." Darkling's eerie voice caused Vulcan's head to snap in his direction. "Open the gate." "Damn it, I'm never getting used to it," the genius said, examining the black elixir. "I would love to study you in depth." "I have been studied far longer than you can imagine," the Shoggoth replied, a hint of frustration in its voice. If it remembered all of Ryan's loops, then he probably spent years trapped in a bottle. Perhaps even decades. "I have waited long enough." "Well, I'll keep the data then," Vulcan said with a shrug, before exiting the room through the blast door and leaving the Shoggoth alone with the courier. "Are you ready?" the black elixir asked Ryan. "Sure, but I don't see why you need me in the room," the courier said. "The portal worked fine without me when Mikron's machines trapped you in our dimension. I will need your help to stabilize." The alien entity seemed to struggle to find the right words in the human language. "You are connected to the purple world, the crossroad of all space and time, even other worlds." Ryan looked at his armored hands. "All of space and time, huh? Distance, past, and future are illusions. All is connected." "So cryptically helpful." Vulcan's voice echoed in the particle accelerator. "Ready to break the laws of physics?" she asked. "Let's make them cry," Ryan replied. Vulcan started the particle accelerator, the silver fluid pulsating with electricity. The walls rotated around Ryan and Darkling, faster and faster, until they started to blur. Gravity became lighter, the courier's feet slowly getting off the ground. Colored lightning coursed through the silver fluid, and surged all across the room. Bolts bounced off Ryan's armor, or hit Darkling's viscous surface. The electricity changed coloration in a strange pattern, from red to orange, from yellow to green, from blue to violet. Flux. The lightning became blinding white for a brief instant, and then turned black as the darkest night. Instead of surging in all directions, the bolts concentrated on a single point at the center of the room, building up into a sphere. A dark spot no bigger than a thumb, a black hole in the very fabric of reality. Too small. Darkling's many eyes focusing on the sphere with hope and dread. "Open it." "How do I do that?" Ryan asked, having a hard time hearing the giant slime over the sound of thunder. "You are the key. Open the gate." Ryan glanced at the sphere, and in a moment of scientific curiosity, took it in his palms. His fingers trembled as he did so, an invisible force coursing through his flesh and bones. When his armored hands touched the sphere, his whole body shuddered, the elixir in his veins reacting to the eldritch power. His thumbs dug into the black hole, its surface shifting like water. Ryan felt an intense, primordial cold inside this miniature portal. The courier activated his power, and time slowed down to a crawl. His armor kept providing data even as the universe turned purple and violet particles floated all around him. Black lightning coursed through the particle accelerator even in the frozen time, colliding with the violet flux particles. The universe's fabric tore itself apart under the strain of Ryan's power, and his hold on the portal became firmer. The courier extended his arms, and the gate widened. The sphere slowly grew from a tennis ball size to that of a soccer one. Ryan noticed a figure appearing at the edge of his vision, violet flux taking the shape of a humanoid specter racing at him. Though the phantom seemed to run towards the courier, it advanced slowly, only a few centimeters per second. The closer it became, the sharper its features. The courier noticed a magician's hat, the shape of a jacket. "This is me," Ryan realized. His other self in the purple world, converging towards his timeline. Always trying to catch up to the present. The armor enhanced his power enough that he could observe how it worked in detail. If the Phantom caught up to Ryan, he would create a new save point. The moment is now. Darkling said, its voice brimming with an all-too-human emotion, hope. Do it. Do it now. And with a final push, Ryan opened the gate to the black world. The portal transformed into a disc 2 meters in diameter, a rift in space-time itself. Colored streams of light formed a halo at its edge, like a black hole's event horizon. A gate to a world of infinite darkness. Ryan gazed into this abyss for seconds that seemed to stretch on forever. The portal's energies interfered with his power, preventing his other self from catching up. Time itself grew unstable, and it frightened the courier. The black world existed beyond time itself, beyond reason. And yet, it drew him in like a moth to a flame. Ryan remembered how Geist and Bacchus both got a glimpse of higher dimensions, and yearned to contact them again. Just as Mekran had grown obsessed with creating a portal towards his power's source, according to the bunker's files. The courier never understood why, until now. A divine power dwelt within each colored dimension, and beckoned humans to come closer. Follow me. Ryan glanced at Darkling, who impatiently slithered towards the portal. The time anomaly didn't affect it in the slightest. Where? To the other side. The sentient elixir's form shifted, its liquid floating in midair while leaving a pile of corroded human bones behind. The Black Ultimate One will free your spirit. From this flesh-shaped shell. Your mind shall no longer be bound by your gravity and molecules. I will show you places. Places you can't even imagine. You will become free from causality's torments. Ryan glanced at the purple phantom, getting closer by the second. I will leave everyone behind if I do that. But inside the black world, nothing is forbidden. You could see her again. Jasmine? A person who could have existed yet never did. An impossibility that defied all laws of time and space. A woman who could only exist in an impossible place. No, Ryan told himself. He had hoped for the first time in centuries, and he needed to save New Rome from annihilation. He had made too many promises he couldn't break. No, I can't. Her voice came out of the portal. I was a hero once. Ryan's head snapped back at the abyss, and the impenetrable darkness beyond it. It spoke with another voice, the echo of someone long gone. God put us on Earth for a reason, a man beckoned from the other side. One day, you will realize the boulder isn't your enemy. It's your friend. Simon? Ryan asked, remembering a fateful conversation centuries past. No, it wasn't Simon. It was just an echo stirred up by the black world, a lure to draw him in. And yet, this dimension existed beyond time and space. Could something other than an echo remain on the other side? A remnant of cancelled iterations? All that you have erased. Darkling whispered. You can make it exist again. A paradox. Can't you bring me in for the ride too? Felix's voice. When you turn back time, Ryan, I'll forget that. I'll be angry and bitter at her, all over again. Her death will mean nothing. Ryan could bring them all back, if he crossed the threshold. Maybe find a Len with whom things went right, or some of the countless men and women he left in his dust. People he had loved and hated, known and remembered. Friends and loved ones who only existed in his memories now. The abyss tempted the courier so sweetly. Something on the other side called him, begged him to leave that painful reality behind for a better one. One where he wouldn't suffer anymore, and where his curse could finally end. But the courier's eyes wandered to the phantom of his past, catching up to him. He thought of all the promises he made, all the people who trusted him. There were fewer than the billions he erased, but they were alive. He couldn't abandon them, even for a chance at happiness. Both the black and the purple pulled him in a different direction, and Ryan couldn't decide. So the abyss spoke again, sinking its claws into the courier's mind. Even if I disappear, promise you won't forget me. The courier followed Darkling into the black world. The warmth of Earth's dimension vanished, replaced with an absolute, chilling cold. Yet it felt strangely comforting. The black world was darker than the darkest abyss, and yet Ryan could see things moving inside. Living equations that had gained a life of their own. An Ouroboros devouring its own tail, never running out of mass. Stillborn realities neither time nor depth held sway. This eldritch realm had a pulsating heart, a great darkness of unfathomable size. A black hole that made the one at the center of the Milky Way look like a speck of dust. An entity whose mere attention could erase Ryan from existence, if it didn't consciously hold back. The Black Ultimate One. It had sent the voices to communicate with Ryan, the way a human might attempt to mimic an ant's language. The entity had heard the courier's wish, and would grant it in its own way. Darkling's form changed, from that of a slime to something else. Something that gave Ryan a headache when he looked at it. A sphere with triangular ends and recursive eyes, prismatic wings, and impossible geometries. An entity that couldn't exist in Earth's reality, and could now regain its true form. This place changed Ryan too. His hands seemed to flicker in and out of existence, turning into eldritch darkness one moment, and back to normal the next. The courier was a creature of physical laws, of molecules and organs. This place had no logic, no rules to constrain him. The Saturn armor maintained this form for now, a shell protecting his essence, but the blackness would consume it. Ryan would lose his physical form, forget the very concept of a shape and ascend into something more than human. Something free. "Don't go, Ryan." The voice was the courier's own. Ryan looked behind him, the portal nothing more than a lone star surrounded by the dark void of space. A figure of violet light had stopped running, and instead waited on the other side like an abandoned child. "I cannot follow beyond this gate," the purple phantom pleaded with Ryan's own voice. "If you close the door, we will part ways forever." "You are my elixir," Ryan realized, his voice echoing all around him. "My safe point. I am your other half. The power slumbering within you." The phantom extended a hand at Ryan, but couldn't cross the portal. "If you ascend, you will no longer be human. You will become a denizen of this black realm, and you won't return." "I don't want to come back." Ryan marked a short pause, a layer of ice growing on his armor from the cold. Darkling awaited at his side, silent as a tombstone. "I have come back too many times already." "I know," the phantom said, apologetic. "And I am sorry for it. When we bonded, I looked deep inside of you. I tried to understand what you wanted, to fulfill your greatest wish. Then why did you give me this power? Why do you keep reviving me, even when I die of old age?" "Because I thought this power would make you happy, Ryan. That is what all elixirs want for their humans. To help. Even if sometimes, we are not very good at it. You are so different from us. If you want me to be happy, then stop bringing me back again and again." Ryan snarled, unloading centuries of bitter despair. "Just let me rest." The phantom marked a pause, its voice brimming with genuine sadness. "I cannot, Ryan. I cannot stop you from returning. I cannot undo the wish you made when we bonded, nor change its parameters." "Then you know why I must go." Ryan's breath turned to ice, the darkness draining him of his warmth. The Black Ultimate One beckoned him to close the portal, and leave Earth forever. It just hurts. Even now, I will leave people behind. Even with that technology and all this help, I will snuff countless lives out. Even with his godlike power, Ryan couldn't save everyone. Death does not exist in the purple world, which is why it fascinates the rabbit. It is innocent like a child, as I was once. The phantom kept its hand extended, still hopeful its partner would come back to it. Back to the pain of immortality. Humans die, yet they move on, even without your power. You wanted to return to the past, to change the present. This was the wish you made. The portal seemed to waver, the connection weakening. "But you can move on now," the specter argued. "You can stop looking to the past, and towards the future. Make new memories, and happier moments. You can grow old, have children. Find peace." Ryan sighed. "I feel old already." "But you won't grow old alone anymore," the elixir argued. "You have never been alone, Ryan. I have always been with you, though you could not hear me. Every time you stumbled, I helped lift you up. When you entered the purple world, it is I who begged the Ultimate One to help you. Because I care for you. Care. Others cared for him. Len had fought at his side countless times, even after all Ryan cost her. Livia placed her trust in him, just as he took a gamble on her. He had befriended Felix, Fortuna, Jamie, and so many others. Saren and other madmen had placed their hopes in him, of all people. If Ryan left Earth behind, he condemned it. He would leave it to the Plushie, to Bloodstream, and Augustus to ravage. He would abandon Len to suffer, Livia to remain with her father, Felix to face his doom, and New Rome to burn. But if he returned, I will never see them again if I go back, Ryan said with a heavy heart. All the people I left behind. If I can recreate their essence in this place, perhaps I can bring them through the portal. If you use the black to bring the dead back, they will suffer. Like your friend, they will be paradoxes in a universe unsuited for them. An existence of pure agony. The spectre shook its head, the portal slowly shrinking. Let the dead rest, Ryan. Your place is with the living. Ryan glanced at Darkling, and at the colossal black hole. None moved to restrain the courier, and no past echo tempted him further. The decision was his own. He couldn't stay. His elixir was right, he didn't belong with the dead. His place was with Len, Livia, and all the people who had placed their trust in him. Even if it hurt. Even if it hurt, Ryan had to let the past go. I'm sorry, Darkling, Ryan said, as he turned to the friendly Shoggoth. I can't stay here. I understand, the entity replied, its voice bizarre and yet comprehensible. You're not mad. Black is paradox. Freedom from all laws. The ability to say no to everything. Even to itself. The eldritch horror marked a short pause. When you are satisfied with what you achieved, and wish to end it all, I will wait for you here. Thanks, Ryan said, nodding at the creature. Farewell, Darkling. Goodbye, my friend. Ryan took a step, and although there was no ground to walk on, he crossed the distance with the portal in an instant. The black world itself bent to his will, granting him his wish. The courier crossed the gate before it closed, returning to the particle accelerator. Welcome home, his other self said. The courier cancelled his power before he and his other self could touch, before a new save point could form. Time resumed at once, and the portal collapsed into nothingness. The violet particles vanished, and the courier stood alone in the particle accelerator, the only witness of that strange contact with a beyond. Did it work? Vulcan's voice echoed in the room. In response, Ryan activated his power and froze time. The world turned purple, and the violet spectre appeared again at the edge of his vision. Can you speak? The courier asked. No answer. The spectre kept moving in his doppelganger's direction, but made no sound. Perhaps direct communication had only been possible due to the black world's interference. Ryan extended an armored hand at his double as if to reach for it, and immediately froze. Black particles floated out of his body, alongside the violet ones. Chapter 86 I don't know, Alchimo said. Ryan Romano slouched on his chair, the Saturn armor's sheer weight making it creak. Vulcan sat at his side, checking a portable computer with a frown on her face. Well, can you give me more details, O great keeper of knowledge? The cabin's metal walls thrummed like a great beast's bowels, as Alchimo transferred data to the Saturn armor's computer. Ryan watched a copy of his bioscan appear on his helmet's lens, his organs and bones as violet as a plum. He looked in perfect health, even after engaging in a worrying amount of euphoric substances. As far as the scanners are concerned, you are an average monocolor violet genome, with no genetic anomalies whatsoever, Alchimo said. You can only blame yourself for your eccentricity. So Ryan wasn't a psycho, or at least not a conventional one. The courier considered it good news. Then how do you explain the chic jet black particles surrounding my body in the frozen time? I know that I do not know, Alchimo replied with a sarcastic tone. Don't bring Socrates into this. Whenever I develop a theory on powers and elixirs, meatbag, you invalidate it. The genius complained. "I give up. The armor's scanners record these black flux particles, but I don't know what to make of the readings," Vulcan admitted, a cute frown of frustration on her face. "They keep changing." "So these particles follow quantum superposition?" Ryan asked. "The results change depending on the observation method." "No, the data keeps changing after being recorded." Vulcan turned her laptop in Ryan's direction, allowing him to see the screen. Lines of codes and words shifted before his eyes, from binaries to trinaries, from numbers to letters and stranger symbols. "This substance actively refuses to be categorized, and passively alters reality when I insist." Vulcan ground her teeth in annoyance. "Either that, or you gained a second power that falsifies my data." "A blue power then," Alchemo said, jumping to the easy conclusion. "I'm not yet colorblind, brain dead," Ryan said. "I can tell black from blue." "None of this makes sense," the cyborg complained, having grown angrier by the minute since they left the bunker. Perhaps the stress was getting to him? Ryan knew from experience that the genius didn't have a great mental fortitude. A paradox dimension? An energy that actively violates common sense? How do you want me to find logic in a situation that lacks any? If the rest of our theory about elixirs is correct, then this means you developed a link to this black world. Perhaps even a secondary power. Vulcan raised an eyebrow at Ryan. "What are you waiting for? Try it out." Ryan froze time, black and violet particles floating around him while his other self appeared in a corner. The poor ghost only advanced a few centimeters per second, desperately catching up to the courier. Ryan glanced at his hands, and the black spots swirling around them, before raising them at Alchemo. "Unlimited power!" the time traveler shouted while wagging his fingers like a maniac. "Power!" And? Nothing happened. No black lightning, no blast of an matter. Not even the thrill of unlimited cosmic power coursing through his veins. "Nope, nothing I can figure out," Ryan said as time resumed. "Damn it, why didn't the dark side come with a manual? Either I don't have a second power, or I need to figure out what it does before I can use it." "Disappointing," Vulcan said, though she sounded more playful than angry. "Do you still produce particles without the armor?" "No more than I generate visible violet flux without your wonderful suit." Ryan only produced black flux with the Saturn armor on. "Neither did my main power mutate, as far as I can tell." His time stop worked perfectly fine, and his violet phantom hadn't changed either. Thus, his save point shouldn't have moved forward in time, though Ryan could only check by resetting. He was in no hurry to try that out yet. For all he knew, everything would return to normal on the next save, though his gut told him otherwise. The ultimate darkling could apparently violate causality, so Ryan's condition had a chance to stick. "Then this black flux works on another level than our physical reality," Vulcan theorized. "Don't tell me you believe in souls?" Alchemo grunted. "I thought you were a rational person. A genome like Geist has no DNA for his elixir to hang on to, and yet persists as a freaking ghost," Vulcan pointed out. "A similar thing happened with Ghoul as far as I know. A pity your slime friend killed him on its way out, Ryan. It could have helped us figure it out. Ghoul's remains hadn't risen up after Darkling threw them up, proving that even immortals could die." Ryan couldn't help but wonder how black flux would react to an inviolable object like lightning, but the courier needed information that even Mecran's databases couldn't provide. Knowledge from the same place where he might find a cure for the psycho syndrome. Ryan would take a winter vacation next time around. Alas, they had other matters to deal with right now, as Shorty reminded him when she opened the cabin's door in full power armor. "We're surfacing, Riri," she said, her voice firm and without any trace of hesitation. "It's time." "Finally," Vulcan said, as she closed her laptop. "Time to put on my supersuit." "Your immense culture is by far your greatest quality," Ryan congratulated the short genius, who responded with a smirk. "So, you're coming with us?" To his surprise, she shook her head in response. "I'm afraid that's where we part ways. Boss orders. I'll scramble Dynamis communications on my way out, which should help a little." Ryan didn't hide his disappointment. Don't let the patriarchy tell you what to do, come fight the system with us. Yeah, well, I like you, but not enough to disobey Augustus for your sake. You're a Saturday morning cartoon comedian, but the Mafia is more lethal than Ebola. What's happening? Len asked, concerned. Is it about the carnival? She worried the last loop's event might repeat itself. Unfortunately, this loop's apocalypse would be much worse. Nah, you heard about that rabbit cryptide thing on the news? Vulcan asked, everyone looking away. Well, it's apparently a self-replicating killer robot, and currently assaulting our HQ. Augustus asked everyone to mobilize, which means they're replicating faster than he can kill them himself. The midget glanced at Ryan with a knowing look. You wouldn't have anything to do with that? Nah. He lied. I want to rule the world, not destroy it. She whispered into his robotic antennae, as if they were ears. I'm a genius, but I'm also a genius. So don't fuck with me. 2 loops too late for that. You should be fine, don't worry. With her height, the plush eyes would probably mistake her for a child. Yeah, make sure to skip town afterward. I would be loath for us to end up on opposing sides. Vulcan rose from her seat with a grin, the laptop under her arm. I had fun. Same, the courier replied. Underdiver? Vulcan glanced at Len, much to the shy genius' surprise. Don't hang out too much with him. You've got a great future ahead of you, but I'm pretty sure he's going to live fast and die young. I'll keep that in mind, Len replied sheepishly, Vulcan leaving the room afterward with a shrug. Alchimo waited for Ryan's ex-girlfriend to vanish, before turning at the man himself. So, what will it be? You and T will stay behind on the submarine, so we can evacuate in short order, Ryan explained. If all went well, they could raid Lab 66 within a short time frame and flee before Dynamis could mobilize. You keep sending the brain maps to Livia in our absence. I already sent the ones you wanted, alongside a copy of Saren's molecular structure, the genius said, having failed to find a better solution. Am I forgetting one? Yes, he did. Brain dead, you're an asshole. Ryan's bluntness caused the cyborg to flinch. However, I've befriended assholes before, and someone taught me to let go of the past. To move on. The courier struggled to find the right words, while Len watched on without any of her own. What you've done, what the other you did. It hurt. It hurt more than you can imagine. But as you said it yourself, you're no longer that person. The Alchimo that betrayed me is dead, while you are alive. So, while it feels wrong, Ryan let out a long sigh. I will give you a second chance. Send your own brain map to Livia. The cyborg marked a short pause, his lack of facial expressions making his thought process unclear. Thank you, Ryan. You won't get a third chance, the courier warned. So don't waste it. I won't, the genius promised, before excusing himself with a short nod. Is it wise to bring so many people with us, Rory? Len asked with concern once Brain Dead had left the cabin. No. But I would rather extend a hand and be disappointed, than never do so and stay alone forevermore. Livia has a point, fear and paranoia lead nowhere. Len looked at her best friend without uttering a word, her face hidden behind her helmet. What? Nothing, she lied, though Ryan didn't press the issue. Are you ready? Are you? Ryan asked the hard question. No, she admitted. No, I'm not. But I can't delay anymore. There is no other choice. Well, let me put on an accessory and I'm ready to go. Ryan searched the cabin for the last missing part of his outfit, a black cashmere poncho, which he immediately put on his armor. How do I look? Len giggled, which the courier thought to be the most wonderful sound in the world. You look cute. I would have preferred you to say fearsome, but cute is nice. Besides, with all the plush eyes running around, I'm sure leprophobia will become mainstream soon. Even Ryan had to look that word up. It's nice to hear your bad jokes again, Riri, Len said, as they walked out of the cabin and through the submarine's narrow corridors. You've been somber lately. You noticed? Yes. Usually you joke all the time, but not so much anymore. Although, he asked. Your smiles reach your eyes now. She knew him better than anyone else. I do have an excellent sense of humor centuries ahead of its time. But I guess I found it easier to laugh at pain rather than cry at it. My eternal life doesn't feel painful anymore, especially with you at my side. There's no word to express my relief. She understood though. She had seen him cry for the first time in centuries. Ryan would have bet his hand that Len smiled warmly behind the helmet, and she raised her pinky. Together till the end, Rere. Till the end, Shorty, Ryan Pinky swore back. She had helped him live again, and he would return the favor. The duo emerged from the Micron submarine and walked on its metal husk, facing a burning new Rome. Their vehicle had risen above the waters south of the blockaded harbor, the remaining meta-gangsters having moved onto small boats. They could hear the noise of gunshots, lasers, and missiles all the way from Rust Town, as Corpo troops assaulted the bunker. Toasty and the bunker's robots had been deployed to occupy Dynamis forces, while Ryan's group would sneak into the HQ from behind. If all went optimally, everyone would live through the attack. The courier had even made a copy of Toasty's AI, to ensure its survival. However, the sight of a flying sun shining in Rust Town's polluted skies complicated things. Much like in the previous loop, the Carnival had chosen to collaborate with Dynamis. Considering how they dealt with Bloodstream, Ryan wondered if they had temporarily allied with the company to deal with the bigger threat, or if something else was at work in the background. To Ryan's surprise though, New Rome looked relatively unscathed. Sure, there were fires here and there, and alarms resonated across the street to urge people to stay at home. But he had expected more collateral damage now that the plushie had escaped into the streets. Could it have become tamer with time? Len quickly disabused Ryan of that notion, putting one hand on his arm and pointing the other at the horizon. Riri, look. Ryan glanced at Mount Augustus, the hill having turned white. From afar, the discount Olympus looked similar to an erupting volcano. An endless tide of white fur overwhelmed the entire hill, like an enormous rat swarm converging towards the summit. Nobody could see the villa at the top clearly, as crimson lightning bolts, water arms, lasers, and energy blasts shot in all directions. The ground battle was probably a vision of Armageddon. Ryan's feeble mind couldn't understand what dark thought pushed the plushie on this course of action. He did remember that the fiendish rabbit had vanished after hunting Acid Rain during the Augusti loop, whom Augustus had slain. Perhaps the creature wanted to continue their previous confrontation. Perhaps it had grown bored of helpless targets, and wanted to hunt bigger game. Or perhaps, it simply wanted to make a god bleed. Thankfully, Ryan had the foresight to ask Livia to evacuate to a secure location, because there would be no turning back. The plush apocalypse had begun. Or Leperomakia? They did climb the equivalent of Mount Olympus. Whoever wins, the city is bleeped, Ryan said. If Mob Zeus prevailed, he would learn of Hargrave's presence with his blood already up and probably go on a rampage. If the plush eyes won, they would ride down the hill on a tide of blood and overwhelm the city. I know. This happened before. Len asked, Ryan laughing and glancing away nervously. It did. It's not really important. Rere. It'll be the 12th time that I destroy the world, Ryan meekly confessed, Len tensing up in outrage. But I swear there won't be a 13th. Mr. President. Frank shouted, saving Ryan from a highly embarrassing conversation. Only the giant hadn't taken a small boat due to his enormous weight, his head instead peeking from above the water. We are ready to storm Mexico at your command. Speak for yourself, Mosquito answered, juicing up on a bottle of artificial blood. What are we even doing? The leader of the free world oversaw his troops on the small boats. Only a handful of his men had survived so far, though thankfully most of the heavy hitters had made it. However, with the exception of Agent Frank, who wouldn't die until every enemy of the United States had perished, most of Ryan's allies looked disgruntled. What we are doing, Mosquito, is to write history with blood, Ryan said, raising his clenched fist to the skies. Today, New Rome. Tomorrow, the woo world. I don't care about the world, I want the juice. Rakshasa complained. The land, that stone midget, let out a garbled sound. Somehow, the Tigerman seemed to understand it perfectly. Yeah, why did we abandon the knockoff factory, after we suffered so much to get it? Ryan silently pointed a finger at Mount Augustus. Oh, the Tigerman said, having suffered the most from the plush-eyes depredations. Yes, that makes sense. We have all the data needed to create a new factory, and enough stockpiled in the submarine to last months, Ryan continued, trying to reassure his men. Then why don't we leave immediately? Acid Rain asked, biting her fingers. I'm not sure picking another fight is a good idea. We need Dr. Tyranno to develop a cure, and he's in the HQ, Ryan explained. We get him, we torch Lab 66, we leave. Well, that was the best case scenario. The worst one would involve a reload, but Ryan hoped he could borrow Dr. Tyranno long enough to develop a cure for psychos to use in the next loop. They could even relocate to Antarctica, escaping Dynamis and checking up on the Alchemist base at once. Boss, I don't want to get choked, but the corpos have the living sun with them, Mosquito pointed out, his voice meek and scared. Even after gaining in muscle mass he can move faster than sound, and he can pick fights with Augustus. I say we run while we can. Yes, there will be other opportunities, Mongrel said with a nod. I want to get cured, boss, but can't we wait for a better report on? Saren sent a minor shockwave towards the sky, startling everyone. Haven't you learned? She said, as everyone focused on her person. This guy is a gambler. The cheating kind. The kind that always wins. Ryan's vice president pointed at her superior with her finger, prepping him up. Adam spent weeks trying to crack that bunker open, and he did it in a fortnight. She shouted, with a charisma the courier didn't expect from her. Adam always promised a secure and never delivered, but this guy is pointing the way. Dynamis, Augustus, the goddamn carnival? He ran circles around them all, humiliated them. Do you think this time will be any different? Only President Ryan can save America. Frank roared. Exactly. Saren said. This guy brings a nuclear bomb to a gunfight, and wins his wars with a goddamn alien. This guy doesn't play by the rules. He fixes the game and gets away with it. Would you bet against a cheater? Well, I won't. He's going to rob the whole casino, and we'll only get a share if we follow. They say the house always wins? I say we burn it. Her bold speech silenced everyone for a moment, until Frank broke it by clapping his hands above the water. His applause was soon echoed by other psychos, all dots in the regime vanishing. Thank you, my dear, Ryan thanked his second-in-command. Your faith in me shall be rewarded. Saren responded with what could pass for a shrug. Remember your promise, or I'll haunt you. I swear, I'll find a way to come back. I swear to repeat my term in office, as many times as it takes to fulfill my campaign promises, Ryan replied. As long as people force me to keep power, I shall keep guiding you with my benevolent iron hand. The submarine's hull opened like a box, a metal platform rising from within. Vulcan's mech stood proudly at its center, with a worried T at her side. Shit, that's even worse than I thought, Vulcan said, upon noticing Mount Augustus. The doll, much more concerned, moved on to hug Len goodbye. Take care, she whispered. I'll pray for your success. If I don't come back, take care of the children, Len whispered back, too low for the meter to listen. Perhaps she thought there was a chance Ryan wouldn't reload, for whatever reason. They need someone. I will, T said before breaking the embrace, and immediately moving on to hold Ryan himself. I will be providing tech support from afar. Don't take too many risks, alright? Your life comes first. Should you ask me not to take any risks then? We both know you can't help yourself, the gynoid replied wisely before breaking the embrace. Don't let a building collapse on you again. I won't be there to dig you out this time. Nah, don't worry, We'll take the stairway. The plan of attack was relatively simple. Mosquito would carry Ryan and Len to attack from above, while the minions attacked the building from below. Acid Rain would provide cover with her weather alteration, the land would destroy most roads to delay enemy reinforcements, and Frank would simply force a path inside. Everyone else would provide support. As for what would happen once Ryan's group reached Lab 66, it would be mostly improvisation, but the president believed in himself. "Please take care of my cat in my absence," the courier argued. "He's a very precious creature." "There's something you should know," Vulcan warned, as she prepared to take flight and regroup with her gang. "My radars detected a spike of radiation west." Fallout. Dynamis recalled fallout. It made sense considering Hector's fading star, but it would make the mission extraordinarily more difficult. "How long until he gets here?" Ryan asked Vulcan. 1-2 hours, she replied. "Can't be sure." "Let's make a new Chernobyl then," Ryan said, his men chuckling. Saren's speech had infected them with what could pass for bravery. The courier glanced at the Dynamis HQ on the horizon. "Now," he addressed his troops, "come with me, and take this tower." A chorus of shouts and roars echoed his proclamation. Time to bury those daddy issues. Chapter 87. They crashed into Dynamis HQ, like Fat Man into Nagasaki. Vulcan had been kind enough to equip the Saturn armor with a small jetpack, but Len's aquatic suit had no such boon. The beefed-up Mosquito instead carried her in his arms, as they crashed through Dynamis windows too fast for the security drones outside to react. The president would have loved to enter through the Kashmir production facility on the 20th floor, but that would have meant fighting his way through 40 more. Instead, they entered through floor 60, the last one without any reinforced windows. "Don't worry, guys," Ryan said, as he, Len, and Mosquito faced an army of office workers behind cubic desks. Guards in power armor protected 2 elevators. "We've got a search warrant." Automated cameras immediately focused on the trio, while acid rain clouds formed outside the building. Alarms resonated in the room, Dynamis workers hiding below their desks while the guards opened fire. Ryan almost dodged on reflex, before reminding himself that his armor should resist lasers. So instead, the president smugly walked forward like a Terminator, shrugging off the guards' attacks. Mosquito, less dramatic, grabbed the closest desk and threw it at the security staff. The building shook, as the land caused a miniature quake, and the other metagang members assaulted the building from the reception hall. However, Ryan caught a glimpse of a flyer rushing towards the building from the neighboring Optimus Tower. The red-skinned devilry unleashed streams of flame from her feet like a rocket's reactor, a furious look on her face. Acid raindrops turned to steam upon touching her warm skin. "Take cover," Len shouted, using her genius-made rifle to close the windows with a wall of water. Devilry vaporized it with a fireball, and prepared to incinerate the entire floor. "Security," Ryan shouted, as he disarmed the remaining guards with a combination of time stops and armored fist to the face. "On it." Mosquito flew out of the window right as metal panels closed them off, pulverizing most of the ceiling as he did. His attempt to tackle devilry failed miserably, the pyrokinetic moving out of his path and preparing to blast him off with a fireball. However, Acid Rain suddenly teleported behind the flyer and quickly shot her feet before disappearing to safety. Devilry lost control of her flight for a second, allowing Mosquito to slam her against the building. Ryan left his men to handle the superhero, while he quickly disarmed the remaining guards and let Len trap them inside water bubbles. By the time metal panels covered every window, the president tossed a desk over to reveal an office manager hiding beneath. A golden keycard dangled from his neck. "I will be borrowing that." Instead of taking it off the men, the courier simply grabbed the card and dragged the terrified wearer along towards the elevator. "Incognito, doll?" "On it," his gynoid friend answered, data showing up on the courier's lenses as he examined the keycard. Earlier during the loop, Ryan sent the Psycho Incognito to infiltrate Dynamis HQ. His blue ability forced others to perceive him as anyone else of his choice, though he couldn't fool all their security systems. Still, combined with the president's own hacking, Incognito had managed to slip inside the HQ and gained access to the building's main servers. Combined with T and Alchimo's long-distance assistance from the submarine, the group quickly reprogrammed the building's access authorizations. "Alright, guys, all keycards should grant access to any floor now," Ryan informed his team through his helmet's intercom. "Siren, my dear, how are things going on your end?" "We'll catch up in a minute," she answered, shockwaves and explosions echoing from her side of the line. "Shouldn't take long." "Wonderful," Ryan replied, before applying the keycard against the elevator's security system. The doors opened, and this time the president seized the keycard for himself and left the manager alone. "Thank you for your cooperation," Ryan thanked the manager, as the elevator's doors closed behind him and Len. His genius friend clicked on floor 66, their lift moving up. "You think they expected us?" Len asked, readying her water rifle. "Yes, but all the heavy hitters moved to Rust Town," Ryan said, putting the card in one of his armor's hidden compartments. "Besides devilry, they should only have the juniors on standby." Though he did wonder how many heroes Dynamis had left to throw at the invaders. Wyvern's shocking departure had caused a wave of resignations among Illinois miliori, and even in the private security. When the elevator's doors to Lab 66 opened, the president expected to face an entire battalion's worth of corporate stormtroopers. Victims against whom he could test the full power of his armor, in preparation for whatever horrors awaited inside Dr. Tyranno's lair. Instead, Ryan found himself standing in a colossal beast-red shadow. An ancient titan from the west and east, from the lost magical land of Zhango. A guardian protecting a reinforced blast door so heavy that even a giant couldn't lift it. The monstrous had reached the metal ceiling, while his fur was as white as his victim's bones, and as pitch black as his soul. "So," the giant bear said, his voice echoing with the power of the world's ancestors. "We meet at last, villain. The fools at Dynamis had summoned the panda. I love your new armor. And wardrobe too," to Ryan's delight. "The ears are cute." Ryan and Len calmly stepped out of the elevator and into a hall of concrete separating the floor's entry points from a thick blast door. Cameras and 2 automated turrets dangled from the ceiling, watching the intruders. 3 fearsome guardians stood between the forces of the United States and their objective, the Panda, Ryan's most powerful rogue. Wardrobe, wearing a black and white biryani tuxedo. And Reload, wielding a laser blade and eager for payback. Ryan recognized Wardrobe's outfit, gasping in shock and delight. "I thought James Bond was copyrighted worldwide." "Me too," she said. "But not in Canada. Those hockey-loving traitors. Well, now I know which country we're invading next week." "Step aside," Len said with her weapon raised, not in the mood for jokes. "You're fighting on the wrong side." "The wrong side?" Reload snarled angrily. "You brought New Rome to its knees and threatened it with a nuclear bomb. And your boss mass-marketed a psycho in a bottle, who is waiting right beyond that blast door by the way," Ryan pointed out. While Reload didn't believe him, both Wardrobe and the Panda clearly winced. "It's the pot calling the kettle black." "As if I would believe that." Reload snarled, weapon raised. "I don't know what evidence you fabricated to mislead Wyvern, but no way I'm trusting a deranged psycho warlord." "The Panda is the only one who can stop you," the Panda said grimly. "Even if he must ally with a lesser evil to do so." Wait, did he believe Ryan's words on TV? Did Dynamis believe him? Either that or they had to recruit anyone they could find. Still, the president didn't have the heart to correct the man-bear. "I'm sorry, but they arrested my girlfriend when they realized she took money from you, and I have to play nice to get her out," Wardrobe said, raising a Walther PPK at Ryan's armored head. "Nora is pissed you used her by the way. That was mean of you." "Oh. Arg," Ryan didn't think of that. He had no intention of endangering the architect in his schemes. "I shall buy her forgiveness." "With Australia?" Wardrobe carefully considered the proposition. "I think she would prefer France." "Is France on the table?" For Nora, everything is on the table, Ryan reassured her. Sweet, you can tell her that when I bring you in. Reload let out a shout of rage, blade raised, as he charged at the president without any regard for diplomatic protocol. Ryan lazily glanced at him without a disdain, while Len pressed her water rifle's trigger. A second later, the hero floated inside a bubble of pressurized water, his laser blade on the ground. Wardrobe opened fire without skipping a beat, aiming for the Saturn armor's lenses. Ryan quickly dodged, while Reload was trapped in a cycle of death by drowning, followed by rebirth. Mr. President. The panda tried to look brave and confident, but the poor man-bear couldn't hide his fear. He raised his paws and adopted a kung fu stance. I'll fight you, in justice's name. I am Saturn now. Ryan flexed his unlimited power, by raising an authoritarian fist raised to the heavens. You expected to face a president, but instead, you found a god. God or not, you won't get past me. The panda leaped at Ryan with all his might, while Wardrobe kept providing cover fire. You won't get past the panda. Ryan raised his hands, roaring as he prepared to meet his destiny. Pop, pop. Ryan froze in place, as he faced two bubbles of pressurized water. Len had shot both heroes with her weapon. The time traveler had heard pandas were wonderful, elegant swimmers, but not this one. His short legs wagged in the water bubble, keeping him imprisoned, the bear unable to fight the intense pressure. Len had improved the design after Ryan informed her Sishok could still move inside them. Wardrobe wasn't doing any better, though she changed to a mermaid outfit to avoid passing out. Ryan sighed, glaring at his partner. Shorty? What? She asked, confused. Shorty, I love you, you know that, Ryan said, pointing a finger at the three trapped heroes in the room, but you can't bubble all your problems away. Riri, we are on a schedule, she replied, unapologetic. My father is beyond this door. Yes, I know, but look, Shorty, it's like strolling through a garden without smelling the flowers. You're missing the important part. Even the defensive turrets opening fire on them didn't improve Ryan's mood, though weapons failed to pierce the duo's armors. The president raised his arms at them to reveal Vulcan's hidden lasers, blasting the defenses to smithereens. Splash. Ryan turned around to see Wardrobe wearing a toga and a coral crown, a trident of light in her hand. The water that kept her contained swirled around her weapon like a liquid snake. Poseidon's costume. Before Wardrobe could point her weapon at her trapped allies' bubbles and free them, the courier quickly moved to disarm her with a kick. Her trident vanished into dust particles the second it left her hand, the water falling on the ground. Yuki switched costumes to that of a ninja in order to leap away from the courier and dodge another bubble from Len. Ryan raised a hand to prevent his sidekick from interfering. Opened the door, Shorty, he said, eager for a duel. I shall take good care of her. You underestimate my power. Wardrobe replied, picking up Reload's laser blade and switching her costume for a fencer's one. Look, I swear we will free your girlfriend on our way out, Ryan said. I'm a villain with class, I don't endanger my nemesis family. Just don't hate me over that blunder. I don't. Wardrobe replied while doing some footwork. I believe you, and Enrique confirmed it. If they didn't have Nora, I would have walked out like Felix did. Wardrobe was only making a token effort at defending the place, to keep up appearances. No wonder she didn't bring out the Apocalypse suit, or the Augustus costume. In that case, he would make it a performance. So be it, Ryan replied while revealing hidden switchblades hidden in his armor's arms. Wardrobe's eyes widened at the sight, realizing she would get the duel of her dreams. I shall show you the true nature of the Oval Office. The two duelists appraised each other for a solid minute, before charging at each other with roars. Len ignored them both, as she started cutting open the blast door with a stream of pressurized water. A solid laser clashed against Mechronmate steel, neither able to penetrate the other. The duo danced to the tune of a song that only existed in their head, though Ryan hummed Duel of the Fates to himself. Wardrobe leaped, and sidestepped, and pierced forward. The president pushed, smashed, and forced her back. The blades drew lines in the concrete walls, sending sparkles everywhere as they clashed. No word could describe the deadly duel they engaged in. Wardrobe channeled all sword masters who had ever lived, moving with the grace of water. Ryan fought with experience accumulated over centuries, a perfect style honed through countless iterations. They were evenly matched. But Saren had been right about one thing. Ryan cheated. The president stopped time, and when it resumed, he pointed Wardrobe's own blade at her throat. The defeated hero took a step back in surprise, hitting the wall behind her. "You are beaten, it is useless to resist me," Ryan declared, taking deep, powerful breaths. "Don't make me cut off your hand." Wardrobe looked at him defiantly, "Rebel scum to the end. Do you expect me to die, Mr. President?" "No, Miss Bond." He retracted his blades, threw away his sword, grabbed Wardrobe by the waist, and pulled her closer. "I expect you to marry me." Wardrobe covered her mouth with her hands in shock at his proposal, while Len abruptly stopped her work to look over her shoulder. The president ignored his childhood friend and focused on his archenemy. "Marry me, Wardrobe," Ryan said, losing himself in Yuki's beautiful eyes. "You're the perfect partner. The only one who understands who I am. Together we can rule the galaxy, as husband and wife." "I'm sorry," Wardrobe apologized, tears in her eyes and hands on her nemesis cashmere poncho. "I know we have that raw sexual chemistry going on, but I'm already taken." "I'm a Mormon," Ryan reassured her softly, "I can make bigamy work." She gently touched his helmet's left side, shaking her own head in denial. "No horrors on my watch, silly." Ryan's heart broke in his chest, as his mad hopes of a hero supervillain romance were utterly dashed. She was too loyal, too pure, to embrace the dark side. "But we can totally stay good arch-nemeses, even if I will probably get fired soon," Wardrobe reassured him with a low voice so the cameras wouldn't hear, before shouting, "I will never join you." "Never." "So be it, hero." Ryan deftly hit her in the chest and neck to activate her pressure points. Wardrobe collapsed in his arms like a sponge, the supervillain carefully laying her against the nearest wall. By now, Len had managed to carve a circle in the blast door, though the enormous gate of metal refused to fall. What was I looking at?" she asked her best friend. Ryan sobbed. "A tragedy. Damn it, why was she already taken? There was no justice in this world." Instead of answering, Shorty shook her head. Ryan had the feeling she was sulking for some reason. "Help me kick down the door." Ryan did so, but neither armored warriors were strong enough to open the hole through the thick metal. The president hesitated to use his chest blaster to get around the problem, only to hear the elevators open behind him. He half expected a battalion of dynamic men to try to ambush them. Instead, Saren and Mongrel moved into the hall. Hazmat Girl barely took a glance at the room before figuring out the situation, raising her hands at the metal door. "Move out." Ryan and Len hastily obeyed, right before Saren blasted a hole into the next room. The group finally took their first step into Lab 66, an immaculate, sterilized white room 50 meters in length and 20 in width. The sound of metallic links echoed around them, as automated medical drones took care of thrumming machines and terminals. A claustrophobic, medical assembly line stretched as far as they could see, and continued into the next room. Colored knockoff elixir bottles came out of a metal hole right next to a door equipped with a bioscanner. Robotic arms stamped the bottles with Dynamis logo and moved them into various crates ready for delivery. Ryan glanced around looking for guards or defenders, but didn't find any. It appeared Dynamis only trusted machines inside this facility, perhaps due to the danger of elixir contamination or theft. "Where are the others?" Len asked Saren, as the group moved into the laboratory. "Frank is climbing up the other shaft," Hazmat Girl replied with a scoff. "He was too big to fit inside the elevator. The others are holding the line downstairs." "So this is the place, huh?" Mongrel asked, as he examined the next room. "Where's the genius in charge?" "Probably beyond this door," Ryan said, as they walked along the assembly line to reach its end. Unfortunately, His keycard didn't work on the door's bioscanner. As Nora warned him one loop ago, the laboratory used its own secure computer system. President calling to Vice President, please blow that door open. I can smell reptilian immigrants behind it. Ryan, Mr. President. Acid Rain called through Ryan's intercom, though he could barely hear her with the interference. He's here, on the roof. He's fighting Mosquito. Ryan tensed up in alarm. Whom? Hargraves. He didn't have to wonder for long. The entrance hall ceiling collapsed, someone having smashed their way through the floors above like a drill into the ground. The impact had blown dust into the laboratory, with Sarin, Len, and Mangrello forming a defensive perimeter around their president. The Saturn armor let out an alarm sound, as it detected an abnormal amount of radiation flowing into the room. You're going all in, huh? A towering shadow emerged from the smoke, tossing away Mosquito's charbroiled corpse while acid raindrops slipped inside the building. Well, I'm calling your bet, Moody's. Alphonse Fallout managed to step past the blast door and into the laboratory, his hands shining with deadly radiation. Time to die. Tope continued. Thanks for listening.